The Galactic Council Hall was built to make beings feel small. The ceiling rose so high that clouds floated near the top. Giant pillars of black metal lined the circular chamber. Each pillar carried the symbol of a powerful alien empire. Warriors, rulers, and commanders from 100 worlds stood in their sections, covered in armor, scales, fur, and metal suits. Some were over 10 feet tall. Some had claws longer than swords. Some had eyes that glowed like fire. And in the center of the hall stood one human, Elias Ward. He looked very small compared to the others. No heavy armor covered his body. No advanced weapon rested in his hands. He wore a simple black uniform with a small silver earth emblem on his chest. For a moment, the hall was silent. Then the laughter began. A deep, rumbling laugh shook the chamber. One reptilian warlord leaned forward, his sharp teeth showing. "That is Earth's representative," he growled. "He looks like prey." Another alien with 4 arms crossed them and laughed loudly. "The smallest species in the galaxy sends its smallest warrior." More laughter followed. It spread across the hall like fire. Elias did not move. He stood straight, hands calmly behind his back. His face showed no anger, no fear. His eyes slowly scanned the chamber, watching every species, every reaction. The council speaker, a massive armored being known for crushing rebellions, raised one heavy claw. The laughter slowly faded. "Human," the speaker said, his voice deep and powerful. "Your species asks to join the Galactic Defense Pact. This pact is for apex predators, for conquerors, for dominant species. You are neither. Why should we take your request seriously?" A few quiet laughs echoed again. Elias finally spoke. His voice was calm, soft, clear. "Because you misunderstand what makes a predator." Some aliens frowned. Others smiled in mockery. High above the council floor, inside a massive transparent energy barrier, something moved. The apex predator, the most dangerous creature ever captured by the Galactic Council. It had destroyed entire colonies before it was trapped. Its body was enormous, covered in dark armored plates. Long claws scraped lightly against the reinforced floor of its containment cell. Its glowing eyes usually showed only rage. For 10 years, it had refused to respond to any species. It attacked guards. It ignored scientists. It never reacted to words. It was a symbol of fear. As Elias finished speaking, the creature suddenly stopped moving. Its head slowly turned. Its glowing eyes locked onto the small human below. A low sound vibrated from its chest. Some council members looked up nervously. The speaker noticed the change. "Increase the containment field power," he ordered. Energy crackled around the barrier. But the apex predator did not attack. It stepped closer to the transparent wall. Its massive claws touched the barrier. Its eyes never left Elias. The chamber grew silent. Elias felt the weight of those ancient eyes on him. Still, he did not look up immediately. He waited. The predator lowered its head slightly. Gasps spread across the hall. "That creature does not bow," one general whispered. "It does not show submission," another said. Slowly, Elias lifted his eyes and looked directly at the beast. For a long moment, nothing moved. No one breathed. Then the impossible happened. The apex predator bent one massive knee. The containment field trembled as its body lowered. Shock spread through the chamber like a wave. The speaker stepped back. "What is this?" he demanded. The predator opened its jaws. The translation system connected automatically, as it always did when the creature made sounds. Usually, it only captured roars. This time, it captured a word. A clear word. "Brother." The sound echoed across the massive hall. No laughter followed. No one mocked. Every alien warrior, every ruler, every commander stood frozen in disbelief. The smallest being in the room had just been acknowledged by the most feared creature in the galaxy. And Elias Ward remained calm. He simply stood there, looking at the kneeling apex predator as the silence of the galaxy began. Silence still ruled the chamber. The word "brother" echoed in the minds of every alien present. No one moved. No one dared to laugh now. The council speaker was the first to recover. His heavy armor shifted as he stepped forward. "This is a trick," he growled. "Increase the containment field to maximum." Energy surged through the barrier. Bright blue light surrounded the apex predator. The floor beneath it cracked slightly from the pressure. But the creature did not react with anger. It remained kneeling. Its glowing eyes were locked on Elias. Some of the younger species began to whisper in fear. Why does it recognize him? One asked. What did the humans do? Elias finally stepped forward. Guards immediately raised their weapons. Long energy spears pointed toward him. Do not move, human, one commander warned. Elias stopped, but he did not look afraid. His voice stayed calm. If you fire those weapons, you will break your own control. The speaker narrowed his glowing eyes. Explain yourself. Elias slowly turned to face the council. You captured it, he said. You studied it. You tried to break it, but you never tried to understand it. Angry murmurs filled the chamber. The speaker's voice grew cold. That creature destroyed 3 star systems. It understands only violence. Elias shook his head slightly. No, it understands strength. Above them, the apex predator rose from one knee and stood tall again. The movement shook the containment barrier, but it still did not attack. It simply watched Elias. Years ago, Elias continued, it came to Earth. Gasps spread through the chamber. You survived? Someone whispered. Elias nodded once. Yes, barely. Holographic projectors around the hall suddenly activated. The human ship above the planet had sent visual proof. The chamber filled with images. Cities burning. Human soldiers fighting in ruined streets. The apex predator moving like a storm across battlefields. The aliens watched closely. At first, the humans were losing. They were smaller, weaker in size. Their weapons could slow the creature, but not stop it. Then the footage changed. Humans began to adapt. They studied its movement. They noticed patterns. They set traps. They attacked together, never alone. When one soldier fell, 2 more stepped forward. When cities were destroyed, humans rebuilt defensive lines overnight. The apex predator was injured for the first time in its life. It roared in fury, but the humans did not celebrate. They did something unexpected. They stopped attacking when it fell. The footage showed wounded human soldiers standing in front of the injured predator, not to kill it, but to keep other weapons away. The council chamber fell completely silent again. You spared it? The speaker asked slowly. Yes, Elias answered. Because it fought alone. The speaker did not understand. It was your enemy. Elias looked up at the massive creature above. On Earth, even predators belong to a pack. The apex predator made a low sound. Not a roar. Not anger. Agreement. The containment field flickered again. Technicians shouted from the control platforms. Energy levels rising. The barrier is destabilizing. Panic spread across the chamber. Large alien warriors backed away. Some activated personal shields. The speaker slammed his staff against the ground. Human, if that creature escapes, it will not attack us, Elias interrupted calmly. You sound very confident for someone so small, a warlord hissed. Elias turned his eyes toward him. For the first time, there was something sharp in his gaze. Size, he said quietly, is the least important measure of a predator. The apex predator suddenly stepped closer to the barrier. Cracks of energy spread across its surface like lightning. Guards aimed heavy cannons upward. The chamber lights flickered. Then the creature lifted one massive claw and pressed it gently against the barrier. Not to break it, to test it. Its glowing eyes never left Elias. And once again, through the chamber's translation system, its deep voice echoed. Human, not prey. The barrier cracked louder. The council speaker felt something he had not felt in centuries. Fear, not of the creature alone, but of the bond forming before his eyes. If the apex predator chose Earth, then the balance of the galaxy was about to change. The cracks in the containment field spread like spider webs of light. Energy sparks fell from above. The control platforms shook as technicians tried to stabilize the barrier. Warning alarms filled the chamber with sharp red flashes. But still, the apex predator did not attack. It stood tall behind the weakening shield, its glowing eyes fixed on Elias Ward. The council speaker raised his staff again. Human, he said, trying to control his voice. You will command it to stand down. Now, Elias did not look at him. You still believe it obeys orders, Elias said calmly. The speaker's patience was fading. It is a captured beast. No, Elias replied softly. It is a warrior. That word moved through the chamber like a cold wind. Warrior. Not monster. Not beast. Warrior. The holograms around the chamber changed again. This time, they showed the final battle on Earth. The apex predator had been wounded. Its armor plates were broken. Human forces surrounded it in destroyed ruins. Tanks aimed. Aircraft hovered. Missiles locked on. The council watched closely. "This," one alien general whispered, "is where you killed it." Elias shook his head slowly. The footage continued. A human commander stood in front of the wounded predator. His armor was damaged. Blood marked his uniform. But he raised his hand, and all human weapons powered down. Gasps spread again through the council chamber. He had victory, the speaker said quietly. Why did he stop? Because the predator had lost its pack, Elias answered. The image zoomed in. The humans had studied the creature's signals. They had learned that it was not a lone hunter by nature. It came from a species that hunted in bonded groups. When separated from its kind, it became unstable and violent. Earth did not defeat it by strength alone. Earth survived by understanding. The footage showed something no alien in the chamber expected. Human medics approached the fallen predator. Carefully, slowly, they treated its wounds. The chamber fell silent except for the sound of the alarms above. You healed it? A council member asked in disbelief. Yes, Elias replied. We could have ended it. Instead, we chose respect. Above them, the apex predator released a deep, low rumble. The sound vibrated through the chamber walls. The containment field flickered violently. Technicians shouted again. Barrier integrity at 30%. The speaker stepped back as dust fell from the ceiling. This is madness. No, Elias said. This is choice. The predator suddenly moved. With one powerful strike of its claw, the containment field shattered. A shock wave of energy blasted outward, throwing several guards to the ground. Weapons clattered across the polished floor. Screams echoed through the chamber. The apex predator stepped free. Its full height was terrifying. It stood taller than any being present. Its claws were longer than blades. Its armor plates were scarred from battles across stars. But it did not charge. It did not roar. It walked. Slow, controlled steps shook the floor. Every alien warrior aimed their weapons, but none dared fire first. The creature moved past generals, past warlords, past species that had once claimed dominance over entire sectors. It stopped only when it stood beside Elias. The size difference was clear. One massive predator, one small human, and yet, neither seemed lesser. The predator lowered its head slightly toward Elias. Elias did not bow. He simply stood firm. The council speaker raised his weapon at last. If it attacks. Before he could finish, the apex predator turned its glowing eyes toward him. The entire chamber froze. Through the translation system, its voice echoed again, deeper and clearer than before. Human showed strength. Its gaze swept across the council members. You showed chains. The words struck harder than any weapon. For centuries, the Galactic Council had ruled by fear. They captured threats. They displayed them as trophies. They believed dominance meant control. But the apex predator did not respect control. It respected endurance. It respected loyalty. It respected the species that fought it without surrender and spared it without weakness. Elias finally looked at the speaker. You laugh at our size, he said quietly. But we survived it alone. The predator's massive tail struck the ground once, a sound like thunder. And now, Elias continued, we are not alone. Silence swallowed the hall once more. For the first time in galactic history, the most feared creature alive was not standing as a prisoner. It was standing as Earth's equal. And every powerful being in that chamber understood one thing. The galaxy had never truly understood humanity. No one fired. Hundreds of weapons were aimed at the apex predator, but not a single trigger was pulled. The creature stood beside Elias like a living mountain. Its breathing was slow, controlled. Its glowing eyes moved across the chamber, watching every small movement. The council speaker's hand trembled slightly on his staff. He had faced wars, rebellions, invasions. He had never trembled before. Human, he said carefully, you have brought a threat into this chamber. Elias kept his eyes forward. No, he replied. You brought a threat when you tried to cage what you did not understand. A few council members slowly lowered their weapons. Others kept aiming, but their confidence was gone. The apex predator took one heavy step forward. The sound echoed like thunder. Guard stepped back. You cannot control it, a warlord shouted. Elias finally turned his head slightly toward the massive creature. He did not speak out loud. He did not need to. The predator stopped. Perfectly still. The warlord's voice faded. The speaker noticed the small exchange. It listens to you. It chooses to, Elias corrected. That word made the chamber even quieter. Choose. Not obey. Not forced. Choose. The predator turned toward the speaker. Its glowing eyes narrowed. Through the translation system, its deep voice rolled across the hall. Council weak. The word struck like a weapon. Anger flashed in the speaker's eyes. We rule the galaxy. The predator tilted its massive head. Rule with fear. Its claws slowly lifted and pointed toward Elias. Human rule with bond. The chamber felt smaller now. The pillars that once looked grand now seemed fragile. Elias stepped forward one pace. The predator matched him, staying half a step behind. Not in command, not in submission, but aligned. You call yourselves Apex, Elias said calmly. But when you faced something stronger, you locked it in a cage. Murmurs spread through the council. You fear what you cannot defeat, Elias continued. Humans fear too, but we face what scares us. The speaker's voice dropped lower. You almost lost your world. Yes, Elias said, but we did not surrender it. The predator suddenly raised its head and released a deep rumble that shook dust from the ceiling. Not a roar of anger, a sound of agreement. Elias did not smile. He remained serious. You wanted to test Earth before allowing us into your defense pact, he said. You wanted to measure our strength. The speaker did not deny it. You have your answer. The predator stepped forward again, now fully in front of Elias. Its massive form blocked him from view for a moment. Slowly, it turned its body sideways, not threatening the chamber, but shielding the human. Gasps filled the room. Even the oldest species understood that gesture. Protection. The strongest creature in the galaxy had just taken a defensive position for the smallest species present. A general near the front slowly lowered his weapon completely. If Earth commands this being, he whispered, then no system is safe from them. Elias heard the words. We do not command it, he said firmly, and we do not threaten you. The predator's tail struck the ground once, controlled but powerful. But if you threaten Earth, Elias continued, his calm voice growing colder, it will not see you as leaders. The glowing eyes of the predator swept across the council again. It will see you as hunters without honor. The word honor carried weight. Several species in the chamber valued strength and combat traditions. The idea of lacking honor was worse than defeat. The speaker slowly lowered his staff. For the first time since the meeting began, he did not look at Elias with mockery. He looked at him with calculation. If we reject Earth, the speaker asked slowly, what happens? Elias met his gaze. Nothing, he said. We return home. The chamber stayed tense. And, the speaker pressed. Elias paused for a moment. And we remember. The predator's low growl vibrated through the floor, not wild, not loud, just present. The meaning was clear. Earth did not need the Galactic Council, but the Council might one day need Earth. Silence fell once more, heavier than before. The giants in the hall no longer felt tall. The powerful no longer felt untouchable, because standing before them was a truth they could not ignore. The smallest human in the room had not come alone, and the galaxy was no longer certain who the real apex was. No one spoke. The great Galactic Council Hall, once filled with laughter, now felt heavy and small. The tallest warriors in the galaxy stood frozen, their weapons lowered, their pride shaken. At the center stood Elias Ward. Beside him stood the apex predator. Not roaring, not attacking, just waiting. The council speaker slowly stepped down from his high platform. Each step echoed across the silent chamber. For the first time in centuries, he did not look like a ruler. He looked like a being thinking very carefully. You claim you do not seek dominance, the speaker said at last. Elias nodded once. We seek survival, the same as every species here. You already survived, one armored general muttered. Yes, Elias answered. But survival is not a single victory. It is constant. The apex predator shifted slightly, its claws scraping softly against the floor. The sound alone reminded everyone how easily it could destroy the chamber. Yet it did nothing. The speaker looked up at the massive creature. And what does it seek? The glowing eyes turned toward him. Through the translation system, the deep voice answered. Pack. The words settled into the hall like a final truth. Murmurs spread quietly. For years, the council believed strength meant standing alone at the top. The apex predator had just declared the opposite. Strength meant belonging. Strength meant loyalty. Elias took one slow step forward. The predator did not block him now. It stood at his side, equal. You caged it, Elias said calmly. Not because you were stronger, but because you were afraid of what it represented. The speaker did not argue. It represents something simple, Elias continued. A species that refuses to bow, that survives pain, that adapts. The speaker's eyes slowly moved from the predator to the human. And that is why it calls you brother? Elias met his gaze. Yes. The chamber remained quiet. No one laughed anymore. The speaker turned to face the gathered empires. If we deny Earth entry into the Galactic Defense Pact, we risk making them independent. They already are, a smaller council member whispered. The speaker ignored the comment. If we accept them, we change the balance of power. The balance has already changed, another voice said softly. It was clear now. Earth did not come begging. Earth came proving. The apex predator suddenly moved again. Slowly, it stepped forward, not toward the council, but toward the massive broken containment structure behind it. It looked at the destroyed barrier. Then it looked back at Elias. Free, it said simply. Elias nodded. Yes. The council guards tensed, thinking it would leave the chamber in rage. Instead, the predator returned to stand beside Elias once more. It was not asking to run. It was asking to choose. The speaker understood. You are offering partnership, he said carefully. Not submission. Elias gave a small nod. We stand with those who stand with us, he replied. The speaker looked around the chamber one final time. The laughter from earlier felt like a distant memory. The giants who had mocked the small human now avoided his eyes. The smallest figure in the room had not grown larger. But somehow, everyone else felt smaller. The speaker slowly lowered his head, a gesture of formal recognition among the strongest species. The Galactic Defense Pact recognizes Earth as a sovereign apex civilization. The words echoed like a final judgment. No cheers followed. Only silence. A deep, respectful silence. Elias did not smile. He simply inclined his head slightly in return. The apex predator released a low rumble, not of warning, not of threat, but of acceptance. For the first time since its capture, it stood not as a prisoner, not as a weapon, but as a being who had chosen its pack. Elias turned toward the exit of the chamber. The massive doors slowly opened. He began to walk. The predator followed at his side. Not behind, not ahead. Together. As they crossed the threshold, every ruler, every warrior, every conqueror in the hall understood something that would be remembered for centuries. Humans were not terrifying because they were large. They were terrifying because they endured, because they adapted, because when they faced something stronger, they did not always destroy it. Sometimes they made it family. And when an apex predator calls a human brother, the galaxy does not laugh. The galaxy goes silent.